This is what I wish I knew about getting results in evocation and magic when I was just starting. When I was still learning the ropes of magic, one of my biggest hurdles was getting results. I would follow the directions of evocation methods and grimoire crafted spells to a T, but I was missing this one big thing that I was always overlooking, and that was integrating the self. Greetings, seekers, wanderers, and scholars of the arcane. You just crossed the threshold into a world beyond the mundane, a realm where science meets spirit, where tradition intertwines with rebellion. Welcome to the Augustus Grigori channel. My name is Augustus Grigori, your guide and fellow traveler on this esoteric journey. Are you new to the hidden wisdom of the ages or a seasoned practitioner? Fear not, for this channel serves as a sanctuary for both the novice and the adept. Now, before we dive in, I want to make it clear that while I may quote people like Aleister Crowley or quote Advaita Vedanta or other sources both within and outside of the occult, it doesn't mean I fully agree with or follow everything they say. I simply find certain quotes profound and valuable for the topic at hand, but my inclusion of their words is based solely on the quote's relevance, not an endorsement of their entire philosophy or belief system. So, it's easy to say that there are just so many ways we can carry out our practices, call on the spirits, or call on our own innate power. Being an occult channel on YouTube isn't easy because I can say with certainty that not one of you shares 100% of the same philosophies, practices, and or beliefs on your personal magical journey with another person, and that's me included. And because of these differences, there's so much information out there that it can be insanely difficult to determine what works for you. Sometimes adding something might make another thing not work as well, and sometimes you'll have to remove things from your practice. Sometimes your entire practice needs to change altogether. And one thing many of us share as practitioners or those interested in growing occult knowledge is this feeling of stuckness at times. Sometimes the direction isn't clear. Do we keep moving forward? Do we change our approach? Do we tweak things here and there? Are we being tested by a spirit? You don't know, right? And when things feel stagnant in the physical world, it's logical to change things up. We can't expect different results from doing the same thing repeatedly over and over again. And you've probably heard of that before because that's the definition of insanity. But in the realm of spirituality and metaphysics, we can't always rely on making these shifts. Sometimes we are encouraged to keep moving forward. Sometimes there are tests or unseen forces working behind the scenes to bring our intentions into fruition. And it can be hard to gauge if moving is the right decision when the invisible is pulling the strings. And just thinking about the number of variables that could be key can end up making us feel paralyzed in our practice or our decision-making processes. But there's this one thing I feel tends to be the missing piece in our rituals and methods. It's not always missing. It tends to sporadically come and go. If we're not conscious of it, we're leaving it up to our present state or up to chance. And if we can fully implement it and see whether the practice aligns with us, we can move on more easily when needed. It's truly what I believe is the bread and butter of magic and what separates a spell that does nothing from a spell that cultivates results. And that thing is the integration of the self. That's you, you're the missing key, well, most of the time. I don't claim to have all the answers, but I'll speak as if I have the answer to troubleshooting a majority of our problems in magic. You see, one thing we're all missing at times is that we forget we are the ritual. We are part of the practice. If we remove or detach ourselves and just go through the motions, we lose out on crafting anything potent. And you might, say, well, but Augie, I detach because I'm trying to avoid lusting for results, or I'm trying to let go of the intention to be a spiritual beacon and attract it. And I get it, there are philosophies that lean on detaching, but the term detachment can flip-flop in definition depending on where you get your info, and things do get lost in translation. So let me clarify, okay? Healthy detachment is not being controlled by the outcome. It's about letting go of desperation so the result doesn't own you. However, unhealthy detachment, the type I'm cautioning against, is when you remove yourself from the ritual altogether, seeing it as an external act instead of embodying it. And this leads to a ritual that lacks power because you're not integrated into the process. I'm going to quote Carl Jung, and he said that the self is not only the center, but also the whole circumference which embraces both consciousness and unconscious. It's the center of this totality, just as the ego is the center of consciousness. Jung emphasizes the importance of integration, the understanding that we are not separate from the energies and forces we work with, but a part of a greater whole. In Magick, this means aligning both our conscious and unconscious selves with the work we are performing. If we condense our definition of detachment solely into letting go and abandoning want or desire, we end up viewing reality as only subtraction, and we delude ourselves pretending we don't want things, when the very operation's intention is to have that thing or a thing. Detachment isn't about not having these things. It's about ensuring that those things don't have you. Lusting for results makes the result own you. You come from a state of lack, and now you have an attachment to that thing. But that's not the type of detachment I'm talking about when I say our magic isn't potent when we detach ourselves from the ritual. So let's talk about this, okay? Like, what makes a good magician? If I gave the same directions for a ritual to both an amateur practitioner and an experienced one, who would create results, right? They're both using the exact same method, but each time the experienced practitioner succeeds, and here's why, okay? The competent and experienced magician doesn't just follow the method, they integrate themselves into it. They embody the authority and power needed for the ritual to work. The amateur, on the other hand, might be a little quick to pin the lack of results on the method itself, believing that the missing element is just a technical one, but it's not. When we lust for results, we all know it's unhelpful because it comes from a place of lack. It's that overbearing energy of constantly monitoring our work, which messes up everything we've worked for. Lusting for results deintegrates us from the ritual. We become hyper-focused on the outcome and lose the feeling of the ritual, the feeling. On the flip side, detaching completely from the ritual in an effort to combat lusting for results has the opposite problem. We just go through the motions and mechanically perform our work. It's robotic, and we're no longer in sync with the energy we're trying to raise. I'm going to quote Aleister Crowley, and I know how you feel about him sometimes, and I know how I feel about him sometimes, but he said that every man and every woman is a star, and this is central to what I'm saying. Each of us is a key component of the magic we create. We aren't mere observers. Our energy is the active force that channels and directs the operation. Without full integration, without becoming the star in our own magic, the ritual falls flat. It's just actions without life. And there's a reason embodying some form of authority or leveraging yourself and enforcing your creative power while calling spirits can be so effective, because now you're a part of the ritual. It's no longer you in the ritual, it's just the ritual. When you embody the work and integrate yourself fully, you bridge that gap between going through the motions and creating results. So, that brings us to the heart of why chaos magicians are so effective, or are often so effective. Yeah, I'm going to talk about chaos magic. In chaos magic, it strips away dogma, rituals, and complex structures to focus on the individual practitioner's power and adaptability. They don't adhere to any strict rules. They use whatever works, freely combining different paradigms, symbols, or belief systems. But the real reason chaos magic is so potent is, at its core, it requires absolute self-integration. It uses a lot of the subconscious. The effectiveness of chaos magic, it lies in the fact that its practitioners understand the power of personal belief and self-embodiment. Rather than relying on the rigidity of tradition or external symbols alone, they become the magic. They embody their desires, their intentions, their rituals without being bound to one particular system or method. It's the personal alignment with the work that makes it so powerful. And as Peter J. Carroll puts it, he's one of the founders of chaos magic, or actually to better explain it, he's one of the first to put a name to chaos magic. He said that belief is a tool for achieving effects, not an end in itself. Chaos magicians, or at least competent chaos magicians, they know that it's not the symbol, the grimoire, or the tool that holds the power. It's the magician who decides what has power. The integration of the self into the magical process is what turns possibility into reality. By consciously altering their beliefs and immersing themselves fully into the ritual, chaos magicians wield the true essence of magic: flexibility of belief paired with full self-integration. They don't just follow a method, they are the method. Their belief, focus, and presence transforms even the simplest of acts into something profound. And that's what makes them so effective. Their magic is rooted in fluidity, adaptability, and most importantly, their own personal power. When a chaos magician casts a spell or charges a sigil, you know what I mean. They're not detached from the work or obsessing over the outcome. They're fully integrated, playing the role of creator, shaping reality through belief and action. Carl Jung's concept of individuation aligns perfectly with this. Individuation is the process of integrating the conscious and unconscious aspects of the self, becoming whole. This is exactly what chaos magic does. By throwing away rigid structures and focusing on what resonates within, chaos magicians harness their full potential. Jung once said that one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Chaos magicians embody this by working with both light and shadow, navigating belief systems and energies without fear or attachment. They integrate all aspects of themselves into their magical workings, making them far more powerful. And the beauty of this realization is that it puts the power back in your hands. No more endlessly searching for the perfect method or the right grimoire. You are the secret sauce. The magic flows through you, not the other way around. And I'm not a chaos magician myself, but I'm eclectic in my practice, drawing from various traditions and systems that resonate with me. But the core truth of chaos magic, its emphasis on the self as the driving force of magic, is something that transcends any particular tradition. It's something we can all learn from, no matter what system we follow. And here's where I want to get a bit vulnerable, because I've been there. I know what it's like to feel lost, to feel like nothing is working, and to wonder if maybe the answer is just to pray harder or add more to the ritual, another candle, another incantation, or another spirit. And man, I've been caught in that trap myself, thinking that if I just tweak the ritual a little bit more, if I pour more energy into it, it will finally give me the results that I want. But here's the truth. More doesn't always mean better. In fact, adding more layers to the ritual often doesn't change anything at all. And when it does, it's not the ritual itself that's causing the shift. It's the emotion behind it, the desperation, the intensity of feeling lost that sometimes gives us the illusion of progress. So think about it. When you're desperate, when you're feeling like nothing is working, that emotional intensity can sometimes push things forward because you're putting everything into it. You're pouring your soul into it, but what's driving it isn't the extra candle or the new chant. It's the raw, unfiltered emotion that breaks through barriers, not in a sustainable way, but as a temporary release of your own pent-up energy. And this is where most of us get stuck. We think that because the ritual didn't work the first time, the answer is to do more. Add more complexity, more tools, more prayers. But often what we're really doing is trying to fill a void. We're trying to compensate for the fact that we're not fully integrated into the work. We're trying to cover up that feeling of disconnection by throwing more magic at the problem rather than addressing the real issue, which is ourselves. Yeah. What I've learned through my own experiences, and I'm sharing this because I know how isolating it can feel, is that when we hit those moments of frustration where nothing seems to be working, the answer isn't to add more. The answer is to step back and ask, am I fully present in this? Am I integrated into the work, or am I just going through the motions? Desperation can make us think we need to do more, but the real answer is often to be more present, be more aligned, more integrated with the ritual itself. Because when we're scattered, when we're frantically trying to fix the ritual by adding more, we're really just moving further away from the source of the problem, which is our own disconnection from the process. And Carl Jung talked about the importance of individuation, becoming whole by integrating parts of the self, conscious, unconscious. This process is crucial in magic too. It's if we're not fully integrated, if we're not bringing our whole selves into the ritual, we're missing the point. We're externalizing the power that should be coming from within. And when I look back on the times I felt lost, it wasn't the ritual that saved me. It was the moment I realized that the ritual wasn't the problem, but I was. I was detached. I was desperate. And I was trying to make magic happen by forcing it instead of letting it flow through me. The more I tried to force it, the more disconnected I became, and that's when the real shift happened, when I stopped adding more to the ritual and started bringing more of myself into it. And it's easy to get caught up in the external aspects of magic, the tools, the incantations, the spirits. I mean, all these things are important, but they're not entirely the source of power. You are. And when you're fully integrated into your practice, when you're fully present and aligned, that's when magic happens. So if you ever find yourself in that space of frustration or feeling like nothing is working, just remember this. The answer isn't always to do more. Sometimes the answer is to do less and to do it with more presence, more awareness, and more integration of the self. And I say this with empathy because I've been there. Like, I know what it feels like to be spinning your wheels, trying to figure out why things aren't moving, but the real power comes when you stop trying to force it and start becoming it. When you realize that the ritual is not something separate from you, it's an extension of you. And the more you bring yourself into it, the more you'll find that the results start to come naturally without the need for desperation or excess. Now, here's something I've come to understand over time. Life itself is like one grand play, a cosmic drama. And each of us, whether we're aware of it or not, are playing all the roles. We are the cast, the director, the special effects, and even the audience. In every moment, we are acting, creating, watching, and reacting all at once. When you start to see life through this lens, it becomes clear that we are not separate from the universe, from God, or the forces that we call upon in our magic. We are those forces. And there's the teachings of Advaita Vedanta, and they say and remind us that, oh God, I'm going to totally butcher this, but I'm just going to say it. So it's Tattvam Asi, which is that thou art. It means that we are, at our core, one with everything. We are the universe experiencing itself in near infinite facets at the same time. And this understanding, mind you, is not solipsism. It's not the belief that only we individually exist and that everything else is a projection of our mind. No, it's much broader than that. It's realizing that we are everything, the divine, the infernal, the mundane, the celestial. I am you, you are me. We are both the creator and the creation. We are the hands that weave the tapestry of reality, and we are also the threads within it. And in this play of life, we forget our role as the divine from time to time, and that's intentional. It's part of the experience. What makes life engaging, what makes it fun, it's that forgetfulness. When we forget that we are God, and we dive deep into the human experience with all its ups and downs and joys and sorrows. We play our parts as mortals, as magicians, lovers, warriors, and we do so convincingly because we allow ourselves to get lost in the drama. But then there are moments when we remember, moments where we suddenly pull back the curtain and look around and realize, wait a second, I'm not just an actor here, I'm the one writing the script. And in those moments, we're reminded of the immense power we hold. We are the divine in human form. We are God experiencing life through a human lens, not just watching the play, but writing it too. And when we remember, it's tempting to take that power and wield it, to bend reality to our will, to perform magic with that full awareness of who we really are. And that's fine. Sometimes it's exhilarating to remember our true nature and to act with the full force of that divine authority. We are both divine and infernal. We have access to both sides of the coin because we are, both are part of us. And as it's said in Advaita Vedanta, the distinctions we make between divine and profane, good and evil, self and other, they're all illusions. It's all one. We're not separate from the infernal forces, nor are we above them. In fact, we contain them within ourselves, just as we contain the divine. We're both. We can channel the high celestial energies and the most primal infernal forces because we are them. We're capable of rising to the heights of heaven or sinking to the depths of hell and the underworld. And and we can summon those powers into this plane as needed. And that's the beauty of our dual nature. What makes this whole experience worthwhile, what gives life its richness, is that oscillation between forgetting and remembering, forgetting and remembering. And sometimes it's fun to forget, to lose ourselves in the human drama, to feel the weight of mortality, to struggle and strive as if we're not in control. And sometimes it's fun to remember, to call upon the powers that are inherently ours, to move through this world knowing that we are both the divine creator and the infernal trickster playing all the roles at once. And here's the kicker: we get to choose when to remember and when to forget. We get to play up the drama, or we can pull the strings and bring that divine power down to this plane, into our rituals, into our everyday lives. We can play it in small, pretending to be just another player in the game, or we can act with full awareness that we are the game itself. There's no right or wrong here, just the endless dance between forgetting and remembering, between human and divine, actor and playwright. To live with this awareness is to realize that we have access to immense power. But the key isn't in striving for it and desperately trying to be more godlike or quote-unquote enlightened. It's about flowing with the process. When we need to forget, we forget, and we immerse ourselves in the story. When we need to remember, we call upon that deeper knowledge, the connection to the infinite, and we embody it fully. The divine doesn't need to be chased or grasped at. It's already here. It's within us, in every breath and every word we speak. And when we recognize that, we can consciously decide when to step into that power, when to bring the divine down to this world, and when to let it go, so that we can enjoy the human experience for what it is. This is what makes the integration into our magic actually effective. There's this great teacher of Advaita Vedanta. I think I'm gonna butcher it again. Okay, his name is Ramana Maharishi, and he once said that your own realization is the greatest service you can render the world. And by remembering who we truly are, by recognizing that we are both the divine and the infernal, both the creator and the creation, we're not only transforming ourselves, but the world around us. We are embodying the full spectrum of existence, playing our roles in this cosmic drama with awareness, intention, and joy. So whether you choose to lose yourself in the play for a while, or whether you decide to bring down that divine power into this plane or into your ritual, just remember, it's all part of the same grand design. You are the magic, you are the divine, and you are the one writing the script of your life, even when you forget it. And sometimes forgetting makes the remembering all the sweeter. Now, let's talk about something that comes up often in magical practice: how we troubleshoot and refine our work to ensure our magic is truly effective. Most of the time the obstacles we face or the inconsistencies in our results, they aren't the result of some complex hidden problem. More often than not, they're found in the overlooked details, the things that we brush past because they seem too simple or too obvious, or because we've just outgrown them in our pursuit of deeper magical paths and currents. So when we dive deep into magic, exploring esoteric schools of thought or magical currents and traditions beyond what's been commercialized or mainstream, we can fall into a trap. We tend to overlook things that seem cliche or dismiss things that are blatantly obvious. We're so busy plumbing the depths of ancient grimoires, invoking higher entities, or mastering complex rituals that we sometimes forget the basics. The small details that lay the foundation for an effective magic or an effective evocation. And this is where I've often found myself needing to pause and recalibrate. The truth is, no matter how advanced we become, the fundamentals never stop being important. Integration, presence, and simplicity are easy to lose track of when we're expanding our knowledge base, because they are what anchor our magic. Sometimes the things we think we've outgrown are exactly what we need to return to when troubleshooting why something didn't work. I also had to check my own biases, especially when it comes to more modern or mainstream trends in magic. And fuck it, I'm going to be honest. I've scoffed at the wave of TikTok witches. The way they contentify magic and reduce complex teachings into catchy, algorithm-friendly snippets, it often pisses me off and rubs me the wrong way. It's frustrating to see nuanced practices, get watered down into a 30-second video, and damn it, it's even more frustrating to see those videos ride the algorithm and reaching the masses with way more ease than more holistic and effective teachings ever will. And there's a kind of role playing that I see happening with many of these TikTok witches. It can feel like they're putting on a performance or adopting aesthetic over substance or packaging magic into a bite-sized entertainment format. And sure, that's annoying when you know how much depth there is truly to this work. And you can't fully teach how to work with a complex spirit or channel a sigil or engage in a deeply transformative ritual in a minute-long clip. Like, that's just the reality, okay? But here's the thing. There is actually still something to learn from them, as much as I hate to admit it, okay? Despite how commercialized or performative it may seem, I can't help but recognize one thing that they often do really well, and yeah, it's integration. They embody their practice. They throw themselves into it wholeheartedly, aesthetic and all. It doesn't matter if it seems like they're LARPing. There's an energy of playfulness and immersion that they've got down, and it's not insignificant. They've integrated magic into their daily lives, their personas, and that's worth acknowledging. Maybe what they're doing now feels like surface level or gimmicky bullshit, but at least they're showing up. Okay, integrating themselves into their practice, and they're fully confident, delusional confidence, but they're confident. Okay, and I also think that what happens when these same witches, if they choose to stay on this path, dive deeper, when they start exploring more profound teachings and pick up real esoteric knowledge, there's a risk that their initial integration may start to falter. Why? Well, because as we gain new knowledge, we often get so absorbed in absorbing it that we lose sight of what we're already doing. We move away from that natural integrated flow we had when we're just starting out, hungry and eager to embody every part of our practice. And I've seen this happen to myself, and I've seen it happen to others. You can start strong, fully present in your magic, deeply connected to it. But as you gain more layers of information, as you start practicing new techniques, you might find yourself, drifting, and suddenly that seamless integration into your work, the feeling that you're one with the magic, gets a little lost in the process of trying to juggle all these new concepts and new things that you learned. And it can happen really subtly, and before you know it, you're overwhelmed, you're disconnected, and then you're going through the motions again. It's a good reminder for all of us that integration is a practice, and it's one that can easily slip away if we're not careful. Every time we take in new knowledge, we also have to relearn how to weave it into ourselves and how to incorporate it into our practice. We need to remind ourselves to integrate, to remain present, and not get lost in the sheer value or the sheer volume of what we're learning. The role of a practitioner is not just to accumulate knowledge, but to consistently embody that knowledge, to avoid losing ourselves in the intellectual or academic pursuit of magic. We have to come back to that core truth that we are the magic. We can't be armchair experts for the rest of our lives. The more we learn, the more we must integrate. Otherwise, we run the risk of becoming spectators of our own practice and watching from the sidelines instead of living it. So yes, even though I've had my gripes with TikTok witches, they pissed me off, and their commercialization of magic, I've learned something from them. Really, I have. Their enthusiasm or acting, their immersion, their integration, even if it's driven by trends or the For You page, it reminds me that sometimes the fundamentals are what we forget the most. It reminds me that integration is not a one-time thing, but a process. When we have to revisit and refine, and each new step on our magical path, we have to revisit and refine. And, while it's easy to get frustrated about how surface level their work might seem, I also recognize that they're probably at the beginning of a journey, and maybe later when they dive deeper, they'll experience the same thing that we all do. The challenge of holding on to that original passion and integration while balancing the complexity of new information. And that's a challenge worth respecting no matter where you are in your practice. So in closing, I want to say this. There's nothing wrong with revisiting the seemingly cliche or mainstream aspects of magic. You're not an idiot or you're not a noob because you fumbled the basics. In fact, looking at those things with fresh eyes can give us a broader perspective, bird's eye view of our practice. Sometimes we get so caught up in the deep esoteric layers that we forget that even the basics have something to offer us. And the truth is, most of the time, there's no clear step-by-step path for us to follow in this work. There's no universal framework or map to guide us from point A to point B. But that can be a beautiful thing. Progress in magical practice is rarely, if ever, linear. We ebb and flow, we circle back, we integrate, forget, reintegrate as we continue learning. And it's this non-linear journey that makes the whole process rich and transformative. Sometimes the very thing we overlooked or dismissed as too simple is exactly what we need to revisit. And as for this YouTube channel and the content I create, I want to emphasize that my focus isn't just on sharing sigils or talking about spirits or delving into the more obscure advanced aspects of magic. And don't get me wrong, I love part of that work, and I know many of you do too. But I aim to make what I share here tangible and useful for everyone. Whether you're just starting out or you've been walking this path for years, this channel is not restricted to advanced practitioners alone. The reason I wanted to make this video is to invite you to cultivate a discussion with yourself. It's a checkpoint, a way to check in on your own practice. Sometimes we get so lost in moving forward or seeking the next layer of knowledge that we forget to pause and reflect on where we are. So consider this an opportunity to do that, to assess your own integration, your own presence in magic, and ask yourself, am I truly embodying my practice? Now, before we close, I'd like to share something I've been working on, okay? I've started a new service I'm offering for those of you looking to dive deeper into your path, which is called the Occult Roadmap. If you follow me on Instagram, I've been talking about this for quite some time, and a number of you have already purchased your Occult Roadmaps, and I've worked with you closely, and I've updated it here and there. This comprehensive guide, this Occult Roadmap, it's completely tailored to you. It's going to be based on your unique astrological fingerprint, and it spans over 100+ pages. In fact, a few of the recent orders lately have been over 200 pages. The roadmap isn't just a generic reading. It's a powerful, in-depth manual designed to help you map out your journey as an occultist with a focus on everything from your birth chart to your relationships, your karmic lessons, and even your connection to specific spirits and energies. So, if you order one, each roadmap is going to include this. It's going to include the following, okay? Your birth chart, your human design chart, human design, your left-hand path roadmap, your right-hand path roadmap, career prospects in this lifetime, your part of fortune. I call it the path of fortune, but it's called the part of fortune. How your relationships connect to your practice, how your sexual relationships connect to your practice, your karmic lessons, your ancestral blockages, focuses on the human design, an assessment of your chakra and meridians, and going over the tarot, like major arcana that's associated with your birth chart, minor arcana that's associated with your chart, numerology, significant numbers. We're talking about angel numbers, synchronicities. I even assess your birth chart based off of the placements and seeing what corresponding sephirot are aligned with it, as well as the clipothic clipha, each parts of the clipoth and how they fit into your birth chart. I even go over Kabbalistic angels associated with your chart and what houses they rule over, clipothic spirits and demons associated with your chart, spirits from various pantheons associated with your chart. We're talking about like pantheons from all sorts of cultures that you may or may have not heard of, and what kind of significance they hold to your actual birth chart, as well as a possible, and I'm saying that heavily, a possible identification of your holy guardian angel. Obviously, you're going to have to do the work on that, but I even go over upcoming astrological transits that might affect you, as well as personal Enochian chants and words of power. So this roadmap is designed to take a lot of the guesswork out of your practice by offering a personalized guide based on your unique energetic and astrological blueprint, okay? It's a $500 investment, but considering the depth and breadth of information spanning the most vital aspects of your occult journey, this is a one-time resource that can last you a lifetime. You can think of it as a manual specifically catered to your magical evolution. This takes a little over a week to make. I focus a lot of time into it if you get it. But that being said, I want to make it clear. You don't need a roadmap. None of us need one to walk this path, and this kind of guide is speculative by nature based on your chart and energetic fingerprint, and I believe that we're all born into this timeline, into these circumstances for reasons far more profound than simple karma or past life cycles. It's something more complex and elusive than we may fully grasp. However, this roadmap is here to help you uncover some of that, to give you a clearer picture of the potential paths you could walk. If you feel called to explore that deeper understanding of yourself and your practice, then this roadmap is an incredible tool because, even without it, remember that you are the magic. The map is just one way to help navigate, but the journey is yours to walk with or without it. And so, as I close this episode, I want to leave you with this. There is no one right way to practice. There is no straight line to success in magic or spirituality. We will always be in the process of learning, unlearning, integrating, and reintegrating. Sometimes the answers come from the simplest, most overlooked places, and sometimes they emerge from the deepest mysteries. The key is to stay present, stay connected, and to never lose sight of the fact that you are the driving force behind your practice. So, thank you for watching, and I hope this has sparked some reflection within you. If you're interested in the Occult Roadmap, there's going to be a link below to my website, and you can make an order there. There's other services that I can offer you, and if you have any questions, you feel free to reach out. You can message me on Instagram at Augustus Grigori. I might not get back to you here in the comments on YouTube, but I look at every comment. Okay. I look forward to continuing this journey with all of you and wherever you are on your path. And until next time, stay integrated, stay powerful, and keep walking your path with purpose. With purchase. Thinking about the Occult Roadmap, but yeah, keep walking your path with purpose. So this is Augustus Grigori signing out. Thank you guys so much for sticking to it. This is a brand new format when it comes to creating episodes. This is something that I've partially pre-written in blocks that I will divulge and talk about. So if the way I speak sounds a little bit different, it's just because I've planned what I wanted to say. But thank you for sticking around. If this is a nice format, if you enjoy the format of this episode, please leave a comment. Tell me what you think. If you prefer this over me freely speaking. I feel like this is way more structured, and I waste less time talking about what I'm trying to get across. So anyways, this is Augustus Grigori signing out. Have an amazing, amazing day, and thank you for being a part of this journey.